Vegeta has broken through his shell in unlocking a greater power that far even exceeds Super Saiyan Blue, and with this new power in his disposal, with everything Vegeta has as a fighter manifested onto the surface, will this be enough to give Jiren the fight of his life? It's all or nothing for Vegeta, and on today's video, we will be diving in depth with the reasons as to why Vegeta thought about Kaba as a means to unlock his power, along with the odds Vegeta has now in surviving against one of the most powerful characters in the Tournament of Power, and what this could mean for Vegeta's character going forward as we reach the ending of the Tournament of Power. So strap on in and hold on to your Dragon Balls, because we're going to be talking about Limit Breaker Vegeta next. If you guys like the Dragon Ball content that I provide on this channel, then make sure you guys punch that subscribe button with notifications enabled to be the first to receive all the latest in Dragon Ball content and be a part of the Dragon Ball squad. And also don't forget to follow me on these social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, to stay connected with me at all times. Hashtag Dragon Ball Squad. Thank you so very much for your support. Now let's begin. Vegeta had finally ascended beyond his limits in breaking through his shell and achieving a new power in Dragon Ball Super, which remotely could put him equal to a Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku to square up against the alpha known as Jiren. But with this new power having to be achieved by Vegeta, the question is, will it be enough to put Jiren down for the count? Will this newfound power be enough to get Vegeta by in surviving until the end? To talk about this, I am joined by Jessica, also known as Bubbles from Popo's Bedroom, as we are going to be discussing Limit Breaker Vegeta and him having to go beyond Super Saiyan Blue. But before diving into our thoughts, here's what some of the community members had to say over on Snapchat in response to Vegeta's new power and where exactly he would stack up now compared to Jiren in the Tournament of Power. Roll it.
Hey Unreal, so I love Vegeta. I think he's got a great power up coming up, but I honestly don't think he's gonna win the tournament, even though I would like him to. Ultimately, I think Vegeta's gonna get a good whooping on Jiren, but he might do some great damage and still get knocked off.
Hi Alex, I love your videos. Limit Breaker Vegeta, while I feel like he's stronger than Kaioken Goku, but I still don't think he's a match for Jiren.
My thoughts on Vegeta's limit breaking form, I definitely believe that is actually the bridge between Kaioken Blue, sometimes 20 Blue, and Ultra Instinct. Stacking it up against Jiren though, it's not going to do well by itself, obviously. But if you were to work with Goku, then not easily, but they can probably get the job done with Jiren.
Hey Alex, if this makes it onto the video, then I'd just like to say thank you for including me. This is just another dope thing you're doing for your fans. Anyways, Vegeta's new limit breaking form, I'd have to say I think it's pretty cool. The way he got it, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that 100%, considering he just had a child, so protecting her and the rest of his family might be more important. But it is understandable that saving Saiyans, even if they're from another universe, might trigger transformation, especially since he created such a good relationship with Kaba. Now, regardless of whatever it is, I think the design is amazing. The aura is absolutely incredible, and I love how they're really beginning to focus on the eyes of the characters. Ultra Instinct Goku, they're focusing on the eyes. With this new transformation with Vegeta, I like how they're focusing on the character's eyes. Now, when we're comparing power, I'd have to say this new Vegeta is going to be stronger than Goku Super Saiyan Blue times 20. The reason I say that is because in the last episode, Beerus stated that Goku was letting out all of his power. That should be times 20, because that was Goku's max Kaioken. Now, if we're comparing it to Jiren, obviously Vegeta's still going to be fodder. They're fighting 2 versus 1 and Jiren's not even using his full power, so clearly it's going to be fodder. So, in conclusion, the trigger for the transformation While I have to say it makes sense for the setting, with the tournament and all, we don't exactly know what this transformation is. If you're looking at it from the manga, it could be Mastered Super Saiyan Blue, but with the differences between the manga and the anime recently, we can really just throw that out the window, I think. Super Saiyan Blue 2, I know, Alex. I know. It's probably not Super Saiyan Blue 2. Now, I have seen some comparisons. It could be like a Super Saiyan Blue Grade 5, like Dragon Ball Z, Cell Saga, Super Vegeta, you know. It could. The design for the transformation is absolutely beautiful, and I hope we get further details on what it is rather than just a Limit Breaker or a Ultra Blue. And while I do believe he's stronger than Goku using Kaioken, he's still not even close to Jiren. And again, thanks for including me in the video. Keep up the good work, man.
Now, having to look back on Dragon Ball Super episode 123, it's pretty safe to say that Vegeta now is equivalent to a Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku, and putting him relative to Goku in terms of power, but in comparison to Jiren, I still don't think that even with Vegeta's new limit-breaking power, is it going to be enough to put Jiren down for the count. And the only reason for that is because according to the Universe 11 Kaioshin and Belmont himself, Jiren is still conserving and holding back a lot of power. And even now, as seen with Goku and Vegeta as they're fighting Jiren, they seem to be able to throw Jiren off balance, but it doesn't seem to have any sort of effect on Jiren's body, as Jiren himself doesn't seem to be affected by anything that Goku and Vegeta are doing. Now, Bubbles, I wanted to ask you personally, having to look at Vegeta's development in the show, has Vegeta established himself through his training with Whis and doing everything he could alone to now close the gap with Goku, which does not include Ultra Instinct, but tying Goku's Kaioken ability? And do you believe that with this power, with this new limit-breaking power, Vegeta has any chance in doing a better job against Jiren now? Or do you simply believe that according to what we're seeing with Jiren and him having to preserve a lot of power and holding back, do you believe that the end result will be Jiren just simply stomping out with the exclusion of Ultra Instinct, given that Ultra Instinct may be the key in winning the Tournament of Power? So what's your take on that?
Well, we have seen Vegeta training a lot with Whis, so I think it does make sense that he has this new established power that puts him at just about a tie with Kaioken, the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken ability.
Right.
So I think that it's wise that they give him this Limit Breaker form instead of giving him Ultra Instinct. However, I don't think that him having this form is going to put him... Like, obviously it will give him one up from what his power was before, because that's the purpose of a power-up.
Right.
But moving on to Jiren, I think that the only way moving forward to touch Jiren is going to be Ultra Instinct. And quite clearly, we've already seen that this form is not Ultra Instinct, so I don't really think it's going to do much extra against Jiren. So right now, I mean, it just might help him stand a little bit longer in fighting terms, but in terms of actually getting a hit on Jiren or getting him wrung out, I don't think this form is going to be much aid for Vegeta, unfortunately.
So you believe that in a one-on-one confrontation, you still believe that Jiren stomps. And the reason why I bring that up is because it's very interesting how Belmont and his Kaioshin were able to point out that Jiren hasn't used this kind of power in such a long time, and they feel as if everyone else should be honored that he's even pushing himself that far and tapping more into that hidden power, that hidden ability that he has. And now that Vegeta has broken past his limits, which he has, because as pointed out by the Daishinkan, as pointed out by Whis and everybody else present at the tournament, they've suggested that Vegeta has broken through his shell, thus breaking his limits in achieving this power. Now, going back to tying Goku and closing the gaps, do you believe that without Ultra Instinct, Vegeta is now officially tied with Goku in terms of being relative to his Kaioken? Because even prior to the series, when we saw Goku first use Kaioken, it was very remarkable how even Vegeta pointed out that he leapt past him once again. He exceeded him in terms of power. And with Vegeta's training with Whis this entire time and training alone, it's been very evident that Vegeta had done so much training to where he wanted to surpass Goku. That's always going to be the first person that he always would, set his sights on it, and his goal is to surpass Kakarot. And with this power now having to manifest onto the surface, with Vegeta having to break past his limits, do you believe that it makes sense that he ties with Goku, even though Goku's Kaioken limits can even far exceed times 20? Do you believe that now it makes more sense for him to tie Goku minus Ultra Instinct, or do you believe that Goku in some way, shape, or form, depending on what variation of Kaioken, is still ahead of Vegeta in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, there's always certain things that does keep Goku ahead of Vegeta, and those things, for me at least, are the Kaioken technique and are the fact that Goku has instant transmission. And I think that those two things are something that Goku's always going to have a one-up on Vegeta. And like you said, the Kaioken can get multiplied even far past times 10 times 20. So I think that that's something that as Goku refines that is always going to keep him above Vegeta, even if they had the same form. Because at this point, with where Goku was with Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, as well as Vegeta with this new form, I believe that that's pretty tied for the both of them. I think that's the closest we've seen them in a tied version of them not being in the same form.
Right.
Like when they're both in blue, they're tied, but when he puts Kaioken, this is what ties him with Kaioken. So I think seeing that puts him together. But other than that, I think Goku still is going to have that one up because he can increase Kaioken, and obviously he does have Limit Breaker form, which is something that Vegeta clearly does not have yet. So he still is gonna one-up Goku, and obviously the big hero at the end of the day is still going to be Goku, but it is cool to get to see Vegeta to have this form before we saw it with Goku.
I love how Vegeta has something to his name, because so far in the show he hasn't had any sort of adaptation to a Kaioken per se, or something that can stack up his power equally to Goku. And I love how, to me, this resembles Mastered Super Saiyan Blue, what it means to far exceed and going beyond Super Saiyan Blue. And I really do admire that, because to a lot of us, a lot of people have even pointed out the fact that he looks a lot like Ultra Vegeta or Super Vegeta when he fought Semi-Perfect Cell back in Dragon Ball Z. The muscle increase, the hair being spiked up, it resembles that. Even though it's not definitively cleared as to what it is yet, I still feel like without Ultra Instinct, it puts him on par with Kaioken Goku, and that makes sense considering all of the training he's done alone. And keep in mind, a lot of people may have forgotten that Vegeta had trained with Whis way prior than Goku has when he first arrived to, receive those training lessons, and it only makes sense for Vegeta to push himself that far in achieving this power. I also do believe that Jiren, sadly enough, does stomp out because he hasn't even tapped into his power fully according to Vegeta in the beginning of episode 123, but what I wanted to ask you is, how do you feel about Vegeta using Cabba's message in promising to bring him back as a means to drive himself in breaking his limits instead of thinking about his own family? Because I feel as if it's a bit weird that he doesn't think about his daughter, his son, his wife, even his future son, in which we've seen him be tormented by Goku Black and Zamasu. Despite all of that, instead he uses Cabba's message and the promise that he made to him as a means to push himself even beyond what he's currently capable of, in reminding himself that, listen, I need to keep my promise, I need to bring Cabba back. And I think that the moral of that message was seeing the obliteration of the Saiyan race again. Now, if you remember back when Frieza destroyed the Saiyans in Universe 7, it's sort of like a PTSD for him to see once again the Saiyan race get wiped out entirely by Zeno, and I think that the message portrayed here is the fact that he lost his people twice, and that's a powerful message. In the first instance, we saw how Frieza wiped the Saiyan people out just completely, but even though he didn't erase them, here we have a different scenario to where the entire Saiyan race from Universe 6 has been erased. So taking that into consideration and seeing how prideful he is, I can understand why he used Cabba's message in trying to bring him back, because Cabba's a Saiyan, and having his people be wiped out once again is a very strong message and an indication that, despite all else, he is one of the last ones remaining again for his species, for his people. So how did you feel about Vegeta using Cabba's message in order to you know, remind himself as to what he's fighting for in breaking past his limits. And just essentially enough, how do you feel about that? And where do you see Vegeta going forward as we go into episode 124, 125, and 126?
Personally, I loved that. I think that Vegeta has never really been a family man. And, you know, we got to see him have some sweet moments of, you know, having his family in Super. So that's not, you know, that's not devaluing the fact that he is a father, he is a husband. But, you know, since we've seen him introduced in Dragon Ball Z, he has been of his people. He's been the prince that we all know him to be, very, like, prideful for his people, wanting the justice for his people. And he got to see that potential in a planet that was obviously very similar to his own and was prosperous. And so he was looking forward to, and he had that thought and that idea of, you know, this is his chance to get to live through his people and maybe take charge and help out another group of Saiyans so that they would not suffer the same fate. So I think for me personally, it makes more sense that he kind of thought, hey, here's another group of Saiyans that needed the help, they needed the guidance to get this sort of power, because, you know, before he introduced Super Saiyan to Kaba, and before Kaba introduced Super Saiyan to Kale and Caulifla for the most part, they didn't really have that power. Like, they had it within them, but they weren't expressing it, and they weren't using themselves to the ability and the extent that they should have been. And he was seeing that, and, you know, that's the kind of thing that, as a prideful warrior, you want your other warriors to be able to use that power. So I think it makes sense for him, especially because that's more of a personal thing. He got to see his people erased in front of him again. And essentially, you know, getting to see Kaba, Kale, and Caulifla on the stands, especially having that already master-student type relationship he had established with Kaba before, I think seeing that was more of a realization to him, because I think he kind of feels comfortable for the most part that with Universe 7, if Universe 7 goes down, his family goes down with him, and that's an understanding thing. However, it's realizing the fact that Universe 6 already went down. He already lost his people this second time, and I think for having that kind of mindset, it was, you know, he had that promise to Kaba and said, you know, I'm doing everything in my power to bring you back so that I can have that thing where I meet the king, and I can have that thing where I come and help you guys out and teach you guys what it's really like to be a Saiyan, and teach you guys how to fight and do everything that I did for you, but on a larger scale, and use it to more potential, because obviously you see the potential in these Universe 6 Saiyans. So for him to think that is the wisest part for his character, and I think for that to trigger the transformation or the power-up, whether he already had this power-up stored back, I think that's really wise, because it's using a personal message for him. We already know how much his people meant to him, and getting to see this a second time on a grander scale with the entire universe getting erased, I think that was the wisest thing to use for his power-up, and the biggest explanation for it, and that this is going to bring him closer to achieving Ultra Instinct, and this is going to bring him closer to closing that gap with Goku, so that he could be the strong warrior everybody's been excited to see from Vegeta.
I think it's very possible for Vegeta to get Ultra Instinct. I just really have a difficult time in seeing what it would take for him to achieve that, because according to Frieza, according to Whis, according to everyone that was present at the tournament, the way you achieve Ultra Instinct is basically being on the brink of death, having to be beaten so bad to where you're in a subconscious state. And we've seen that with Goku twice. One with the Genki Dama, with the Spirit Bomb having to be pretty much condensed in the form of a black hole and then erupting in his face, and then we saw the power of Kefla in kicking Goku so hard in the neck to where that kick alone was equal to a Spirit Bomb. So I think that for Vegeta to get into this, to go into a state of subconsciousness to where he's basically beaten down unmercifully and forcing him in unlocking Ultra Instinct, is it possible? I think it is. But at the same time, it's kind of iffy, because we don't really know if Jiren is going to begin to take the fight serious. I think, in my opinion, if Vegeta were to confront Jiren on any given level, I think that he has a remote chance in throwing Jiren off guard, but I think that once Jiren starts to tap into his full power, it's pretty much going to be lights out unless Vegeta is able to gain Ultra Instinct. That's going to be my next question to you. Do you believe that it's possible for him to gain Ultra Instinct, considering that he just unlocked a new form, which is breaking past his limits, opening up through his shell, and achieving a form beyond Super Saiyan Blue? But is it possible for him to go into at least one more additional form, that being Ultra Instinct? And if you believe it is possible for him to get it now, how do you see him getting it? In what way? Because so far he unleashed the Final Flash and it did nothing. I mean, it would be different if Jiren were to repel that and, you know, just allow that to bounce off and then having to deflect that back in Vegeta's direction to where he was hit by his own Final Flash, which I could see doing lots of damage to where maybe it would drive him to be at a subconscious state to where he can unlock Ultra Instinct. But if you believe Ultra Instinct Vegeta is possible in this arc right now currently, how do you see it happening? And if you don't, when do you think he will achieve Ultra Instinct? Would it be in the next arc? Would it be in a future arc? Because it's very notable that Vegeta said, Kakarot can keep his Ultra Instinct, I will find an alternative way to defeat you, Jiren. So do you believe that it's possible that he can? Or do you believe that we are expecting to see Ultra Instinct Vegeta in this arc? It's just a matter of like when and how. So what's your take on that?
Vegeta achieving Ultra Instinct is definitely something that is going to happen. I just, however, don't think it's going to be in this arc. What you just said with the Final Flash, had he been hit with his own Final Flash, I think that would have been too similar of what happened for Goku to achieve Ultra Instinct.
Right.
Because obviously him getting absorbed into his own Spirit Bomb, him getting absorbed into his own attack, I think that's too much of a similar play had Vegeta been hit by his own Final Flash. However, I could see that being a trigger for him, because obviously, you know, we have confirmed that is a good trigger for them to achieve Ultra Instinct, is getting hit either by their own grand scale attack or getting hit by an attack so grand scale that it's able to knock a lot out of you but keep you at a point where your consciousness is still ready to fight.
Right.
So, I mean, I would see that as a good way for him to achieve the form. However, with the fact that Goku already achieved Ultra Instinct using the Spirit Bomb like that, I don't think it would be wise to give Vegeta the exact same treatment and make him achieve Ultra Instinct the exact same way. Like, had he been fighting Jiren a little bit more, and, you know, he was getting beat down a little bit harder by Jiren, and the fight went on for longer.
Right.
And it was to the point where he was so backed into a corner and he was so beaten, then he achieved Ultra Instinct. I think that's a little bit more plausible for a fighter like Vegeta, rather than him getting hit by his own attack.
Right.
Because literally getting beaten into a corner, I feel is more, that's a better thing for Vegeta, just because he's very brutal with how he achieves his forms, or at least what we've seen.
Right, right.
For him in his training, getting to see him in the gravity chamber, attacking himself, him consistently hitting himself with his own attacks to try and get himself stronger, to beat himself down enough. However, something that I just think that, you know, for Saiyans in general, is that for them to get stronger per battle, they need to have a healing in order for them to get stronger. So right now, I feel like unless it's something where he is beaten into his subconscious, like Goku was with the Spirit Bomb, to where that's how he unleashes the form, then I don't think there's really much hope for him getting the form, for him getting Ultra Instinct anytime soon, just because if he's not getting beat down like that, then he would need a full healing before he's able to tap into that power in that kind of sense, just because right now he's really low on energy and he is kind of beat down, but he's not like totally immobile. So unless if he's getting like backed further in, I don't think it's going to be plausible, just because already with him getting this addition to Super Saiyan Blue, which I actually think for the addition for Super Saiyan Blue is more of him consciously thinking, because he's so aware of the fact that Goku has Ultra Instinct that now he's going to be thinking too much of it. And I think that with this new form is more of a conscious thing. So I think this new form is actually the exact opposite of Ultra Instinct, and this is just hyper driving your mind a little bit to where you can predict the next attack rather than your body acting on its own. But that was an entirely different topic. But I think that for him getting Ultra Instinct in this arc is not a plausible thing because we already saw it from Goku, and it doesn't make sense for them to both get it at the same time.
I definitely do believe that Vegeta by the end is going to survive long enough in at least doing something to throw Jiren off balance. It's kind of hard to say because without Ultra Instinct, what more can anybody do? Jiren is a broken character. I mean, he's proven to be that way ever since his inception in Dragon Ball Super. Everything he's done so far just seems so out of the ordinary. We haven't seen any other character display the feats that Jiren has displayed in the show. Not Goku, not Vegeta, and it's terrifying to even conceive Jiren in this form because he's holding back so much power. And I do believe that the way Vegeta has achieved this power is very remarkable in the idea that, as we said earlier, he thought about his people having to be erased. He thought about the Saiyan people having to be wiped out yet again before his very eyes. So I think that having to connect the master and pupil kind of relationship between him and Kaba makes the most sense, since he already knows that even though his family is on the line, he's more prideful than that. So, and we saw that based on how he thought about Kaba as he was transforming. So post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on Vegeta and him achieving this, new power, this limit-breaking power? Is it Mastered Super Saiyan Blue? Is it the ascended form of what Super Saiyan Blue is? I would like to know your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to this channel, don't forget to go ahead and punch that subscribe button, guys, and turn on all notifications to be notified whenever a brand new video is posted. If you guys are not following me at Snapchat and Instagram, follow me at Snapchat at UnrealUniverse and Instagram at UnrealDBZ. Also, guys, make sure to go ahead and check out Popo's bedroom. I will leave a link to that down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Once again, tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section, guys. Cue my outro, bitch.